All right, for this video lesson, you need to have your close reader booklet out and open to page 78. We're going to pick up where we left off with the next section, facts and figures. So let's look at what we need to do for this section. It says here, it says read. As you read lines 24 through 35 and study the bar graphs, continue to cite evidence. And this is where we're going to be grabbing some evidence and throwing it into our notebooks. Posted on Google Classroom so we can use it for our final presentation. Here it says underline text that contains numerical data or information dealing with numbers, and circle text that makes a generalization. A generalization is saying something like everybody tends to do this, or most teenagers always like to do this. So those are generalizations. And then in the margin, you'll note a difference between these two kinds of information. So we'll do that a little bit later. It says, what conclusion can you draw about landline phones or home phones from the information in the graphs? Note your conclusion in the margin. And in the margin, make an inference or an educated guess about the reason teenagers may make actual phone calls to their parents. So that's what we're going to be working on today. As we go through this section. So right now, what I want you guys to do is underline the words contains numerical data. So underline that because that's what you'll be doing whenever you come across numerical data. And then I want you to circle text that makes a generalization. So right now, I want you to circle the word generalization. So you'll be circling that in the article. So I want you to circle this word right now. All right, let's go ahead and begin the second section here, facts and figures. I want you to follow along in your close reader.
Facts and figures. Recent studies estimate that 87% of teenagers between the ages of 12 and 17 years of age regularly go online to use the internet. Studies also show that 75% of all teenagers own cell phones. Half of that 75% sends 50 or more texts a day. 1 in 3 sends 100 or more texts per day.
All right, so right now, there's been a couple of numerical data shown here. So I want you to go ahead and let's double check what did it say to do. It said to underline numerical data. So anywhere you see a number, you can go ahead and underline that. That's a hard fact. Now, did you notice that one of the numbers was different? I want you to write the number that was different from what the lady said to what it actually shows here in the video, and I'm pretty sure it's going to show the same in your book. So I want you to go ahead and write the number that she said above the number that it shows in your book. And then go ahead and underline the percentages that it talks about in here. So those are hard facts when it talks about percentages. That's something that they actually got from recent studies. Okay, and the reason why her number when she read it was different is probably because they've updated the book since then, but they have not updated the recording. So the recording is probably the older number, and the number that's in your book is actually the newer number. So in order to get full credit, you're going to have to make sure that you write down the number she said above the number that the book said when it was different. So, and then this next sentence says, some teenage cell phone users don't even use their phones to make actual phone calls, except to their parents. So this is actually a generalization. A generalization is when you say something like, oh man, all teachers are like this, or man, most students do this. It's a generalization. It's actually not as strong as hard number facts. So whenever it says something like some or most or always or all, that's a generalization. So go ahead and circle this sentence right here because that's a generalization. So once you have the numerical data underlined and that one generalization circled, in the margins right here, I want you to tell me the difference, and this is answering this. Note a difference between these two kinds of information. So what do you notice is the difference between numerical data and generalization. And I want you to write that right here in the margins. Now, let's jump down to the next page. So the next page is actually just a bunch of graphs. And let's take a look at them. And remember the question here, it says, what conclusion can you draw about landline phones or home phones from the information in the graphs? Note your conclusion in the margin. So it looks right here. It says teenagers and the internet. It says, well, 74% of teenagers have their own computer. Well, actually, 100% have their own computer in our school because you guys all have a computer given to you. So you guys are a little higher than average. This says 63% of internet users go online daily. Every single day, 63% of them go online. 27% use phones to go online, and 73% are on a social network. Social network means Facebook, Instagram. I actually want you to write down the social networks that you go on right under this where it says social network. All right, if you don't go on any, say none. Write none here. But if you go on some, write down the ones that you go on. Any social network. Twitter counts. So let's come here. This next bar graph is titled Contact with Friends Every Day. This one says 54% contact their friends via text message. 38% call on a cell phone. Only 30% talk on a landline phone or a home phone. 24% instant message, meaning you use a Facebook Messenger or something like that. 11% an email, and 25% use a social network site to post and comment and things like that. So it says, note that if you add up the percents, you find that many teenagers must use these various methods of contact friends daily. So all this adds to more than 100%, which means that a student might fall into this category, and this category, which is why this adds up to more than 100%. So having that in mind, let's go back to our question. It says, what conclusion can you draw about landline phones from the information in the graphs? So looking at this graph, what conclusion can you draw from this information about how many teenagers contact friends on a landline phone? What conclusion can you draw, especially in comparison with the other ways of contacting friends? And so I want you to write a sentence right here telling me what conclusion you can draw from this graph about landline phones. And now let's answer that last question it says here. It says, in the margin, make an inference or a guess about the reason teenagers may make actual phone calls to their parents. So notice here, it said some teenage cell phone users don't even use their phones to make actual phone calls, except to their parents, and that last word is on the 2 pages from now after the graphs. So right here, let's actually do it down here. So if you go up to the next page, page 80, right here in the margins, see I told you I said parents, I want you to make an inference, or it's a guess, based off of the information here, but that the text didn't actually give you the answer to. Why do you think students only make phone calls to parents? Or why do you think, as it says here, teenagers may make actual phone calls to their parents instead of texting or emailing their parents? I've noticed that a lot with my students. They're like, oh, hold on, I have to call my mom. And then they get their phone out and they call, or they use my phone to call their parents rather than shooting them a text. Now, this might not be true to all students, but the students that have to pick up their phones and actually call their parents, why do you think they do that? Is it the fact that their parents don't know how to text, can't text, aren't comfortable with it? Is it the fact that their parents don't have cell phones? What is your guess or your inference? In a full and complete sentence, go ahead and write it right here. Now, let's go ahead and finish up this section for this video lesson.
Instead, they use texting to communicate. And, as all cell phone owners know, today's phones enable you to do much more than just texting. They allow users to take and share pictures, play games, listen to music, swap videos, and access the internet and social networking sites such as Facebook and Twitter. The average teenager has 201 Facebook friends.
All right, so the last thing I want you to do for this section is, in this paragraph here, this section, I want you to underline one numerical data that's in this, and then I want you to circle one generalization. All right, so there's at least one numerical data here and one generalization. Underline the numerical data and circle the generalization the author makes in this paragraph.